The mining drill bit through the last layer of rock with a grinding screech that echoed through the cavern. Commander Yunjin Wu wiped sweat from his forehead and signaled for the machine to stop. 3 months of digging into the mountains of Kepler 442c had finally paid off. The mineral readings showed rich deposits of rare metals just beyond this wall. "That's it," Jinwoo called to his team. "We've broken through." Dr. Sarah Kim rushed forward with her scanning equipment. As the chief archaeologist for the mining colony, she always checked new excavation sites for historical artifacts. Most planets had some kind of ancient ruins, and the Galactic Council required proper documentation before mining could begin. The dust settled, revealing a massive opening in the rock face. Jinwoo shined his light into the darkness beyond. Instead of the natural cave he expected, smooth metal walls reflected the beam back at him. "That's not a cave," Sarah whispered, her scanner beeping rapidly. "Jinwoo, these readings don't make sense. This structure is huge. It extends for kilometers underground." The Thraxian miners gathered around the opening. Their insectoid bodies clicked with nervous energy. "Commander," one of them chittered, "the metal composition is unknown to our databases. This technology predates anything in our records." Jinwoo stepped through the opening into a corridor that stretched beyond sight. Emergency lighting flickered to life along the walls as his presence triggered ancient sensors. The air felt clean and breathable, maintained by systems that had been running for centuries. "Sarah, get the portable lab equipment in here. I want a full analysis of everything." Jinwoo touched his communication device. "Base camp. This is Excavation Team 7. We found something big down here." As they moved deeper into the structure, the corridors grew wider and more complex. Sarah's equipment detected power flowing through conduits in the walls. Advanced life support systems hummed quietly, maintaining perfect atmospheric conditions. "Commander, look at this," Sarah called from ahead. She stood before a massive blast door marked with symbols none of them recognized. The markings. They're not in any known galactic language. Jinwoo approached the door cautiously. As he drew near, panels lit up, and the massive barrier began to slide open with surprising silence. Beyond lay a space so vast their lights couldn't reach the far walls. They stepped into what could only be described as a hangar bay. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters overhead. Rows of smaller craft sat in perfect formation, their hulls unmarked by time. Everything looked ready for immediate use. "This is impossible," one of the Zephyrian technicians gasped. "These systems should have failed centuries ago. Nothing maintains itself this well without constant care." Sarah was scanning frantically. "Jinwoo, I'm detecting massive computer networks throughout this structure. Whatever this place is, it's not just preserved, it's active." As if responding to her words, lights began coming online throughout the hangar. Displays activated, showing readouts in the same unknown script they had seen on the door. A low hum filled the air as major systems powered up for the first time in decades. "We need to get out of here," Jinwoo said, his voice tight with concern. "This technology is beyond anything we understand. If we've triggered some kind of awakening sequence..." His words were cut off by a sound that made every being in the hangar freeze. A voice, clear and calm, spoke in perfect galactic standard. "Unknown personnel detected in restricted areas. Initiating security protocols. Please identify yourselves." The team looked around desperately for the source of the voice. Holographic displays materialized in the air around them, showing technical readouts and star charts. "I am Commander Yoon Jinwoo of the Kepler Mining Consortium," Jinwoo said to the air. "We didn't know this structure existed. We were conducting authorized mining operations." "Scanning," the voice replied. After a moment, it continued. "No hostile intent detected. Welcome aboard the UES Indomitable Spirit, flagship of the Human Protection Fleet." The words hit the group like a physical blow. Human. Everyone in the galaxy knew that name, though most considered them myths. The humans had vanished 300 years ago during an event historians called the Great Silence. No one knew what had happened to them. "That's impossible," Sarah breathed. "Humans are extinct. They disappeared centuries ago." "Negative?" the voice responded. "Current date indicates 2,847. Galactic Standard. Last crew departure, logged 2,553 GS. Ship has maintained readiness status pending crew return or new orders." The displays around them shifted, showing the true scope of what they had discovered. The Indomitable Spirit was not just a ship buried in a mountain. It was a supercarrier, a massive vessel capable of supporting entire fleets. The mountain itself had been carefully constructed around it as camouflage and protection. "I must report this discovery to the galactic authorities," the voice continued. "Transmitting identification beacon now." "Wait," Jinwoo shouted, but it was too late. High above them, concealed transmitters emerged from the mountainside and began broadcasting a signal that would reach every inhabited system in the galaxy. Within hours, the signal reached the first monitoring stations. Emergency sessions were called on dozens of worlds. The Galactic Council's emergency alert system activated for only the third time in recorded history. On Helios Prime, Admiral Cass Thanor stared at the transmission data with growing alarm. "Are you certain this is authentic?" "ICOM-D. The encryption codes match historical records perfectly, Admiral," her aide reported. "The signal is definitely of human origin." "Impossible. Humans have been gone for 3 centuries. Velthanor paced her command center. "Even if some survived somewhere, why surface now? Why reveal themselves?" Similar conversations occurred across the galaxy. On the peaceful world of Zenthara, children hid behind their parents as emergency broadcasts filled the air. The merchant guilds began evacuating assets from Outer Rim territories. Even the mighty Draconian Empire recalled border fleets to defensive positions. Back on Kepler 442c, Jinwoo's team huddled around their communication equipment as panicked messages poured in from the galactic network. Reports spoke of human ships that could destroy planets, of humans who had once conquered entire star systems in days. "They're afraid," Sarah said quietly. "The whole galaxy is afraid of humans." "Current crew complement." 0. The ship's voice announced. "Awaiting orders. Primary mission parameters unchanged. Protect those who cannot protect themselves." The words seemed strange coming from what everyone considered a weapon of mass destruction. But as Jinwoo looked around the hangar, he noticed something the others had missed. The smaller craft weren't fighters or bombers. They were rescue ships, medical vessels, and evacuation transports. "Ship," Jinwoo said carefully. "What was your last mission?" "Evacuation of Corvani refugee fleet from dying star system Theta 7. Successfully relocated 2.3 million civilians to safe worlds before entering standby mode." The revelation hung in the air like a challenge to everything the galaxy believed about humans. As emergency fleets mobilized across known space, the truth about humanity's real nature waited quietly in the depths of a mountain, protected by systems that had never stopped watching and never stopped caring. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within 6 hours of receiving the signal. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber on Central Station, their voices creating a cacophony of fear and confusion. Admiral Cass Thanor of the Helian Confederation stood at the central podium, her blue skin pale with stress. "Fellow delegates, we face an unprecedented situation. After 3 centuries of silence, we have confirmed human technology is active on Kepler 442c. The chamber erupted. The insectoid Thraxians clicked their mandibles in agitation. The peaceful Zentharians huddled together, their large eyes wide with terror. Even the proud Draconians showed signs of nervousness. "Order!" Council Speaker Vex 9 called, his ancient voice cutting through the noise. "We must approach this rationally. What do we actually know?" "Very little." Admiral Velthanor admitted. The signal originated from what appears to be a buried human warship. Our historical records about human capabilities are limited. Elder Counselor Vex stepped forward. Unlike the other delegates, his expression remained calm. He had lived through the time when humans walked among the galactic community. Perhaps I can provide context. The chamber fell silent. Vex rarely spoke, but when he did, others listened. Humans were not the monsters our children's stories suggest. Vex began. They were complex beings who possessed something rare in the galaxy, the ability to care deeply for species they had never met. But the wars, interrupted Delegate Chenka of the Merchant Guild. The human war machines that could level continents. Yes, they had powerful weapons, Vex acknowledged. But consider how they used them. Every major human military action was defensive or humanitarian. They ended the Sector 7 war by protecting civilian populations, not by destroying enemy fleets. On Kepler 442c, the ship's artificial intelligence had been listening to galactic communications. The AI called itself Athena, and it had spent centuries maintaining perfect records of human activities. Now it began to share those records with the frightened mining team. Perhaps a demonstration of historical context would be helpful, Athena said, projecting holographic displays around the hangar. The first image showed the human ship arriving at a devastated world called Praxis 4. The planet's surface burned from a massive asteroid impact. Sarah watched as countless human rescue ships deployed, working tirelessly to evacuate survivors. This was our response to the Praxis disaster, Athena explained. We saved 800,000 beings from 14 different species. No payment was requested or accepted. The next hologram showed human medical ships treating plague victims on the Outer Rim. The Vorthan Plague Response. Human scientists developed a cure and distributed it freely throughout affected systems. Jinwoo studied the images carefully. These don't look like the actions of conquerors. Humans rarely conquered, Athena confirmed. They protected. Unfortunately, this created an unexpected problem. The display shifted to show diplomatic meetings, treaty negotiations, and council sessions spanning decades. In every image, other species looked to human representatives for guidance and solutions. We became too effective, Athena continued. Species began to depend on human intervention rather than developing their own capabilities. Trade disputes, resource conflicts, even natural disasters, everyone expected humans to provide answers. Back at the Galactic Council, Elder Counselor Vex was explaining the same phenomenon. Humanity faced an impossible choice. Their effectiveness was preventing other species from growing and learning independence. So they left, said Ambassador Kira, 7 of the Research Collective. They abandoned their responsibilities and impossibilities. They made the ultimate sacrifice, Vex corrected. They chose to withdraw, so others could thrive. The Great Silence was not an escape. It was the most difficult decision in human history. Admiral Velthanor accessed her personal files. Our military records from that time show no human aggression. They simply stopped responding to communications. Their ships disappeared from patrol routes. Their diplomatic posts were quietly abandoned. But the fear, protested Delegate Chenka. Everyone knows humans were dangerous. Fear born from misunderstanding, Vex replied. Humans were dangerous to those who threatened innocent lives. To everyone else, they were protectors. The holographic records on the indomitable spirit continued their story. Athena showed the final human operations. Massive evacuation efforts as they prepared to disappear. Medical supplies distributed to hospitals. Agricultural technology shared with farming worlds. Even their weapons technology was carefully dismantled and removed. The indomitable spirit was tasked with one final mission: Athena explained to the mining team. We were to remain in standby mode, monitoring galactic communications for signs of genuine crisis that required human intervention. You've been listening this whole time? Sarah asked. Constantly. We have records of every major galactic event for the past 3 centuries. The Draconian expansion wars, the Merchant Guild collapse, the Xantharian Renaissance, all monitored. But we maintained strict non-interference protocols. Jinwoo felt a chill. What kind of crisis would make you break those protocols? Jinwoo. What kind of crisis would make you break those protocols? The displays around them shifted to show recent galactic developments, political tensions between major powers, resource shortages on outer rim worlds, the slow breakdown of cooperative treaties that humans had once helped negotiate. Multiple indicators suggest the galaxy approaches a period of significant instability, Athena replied. The systems we put in place to maintain peace have degraded without maintenance. Species have forgotten how to work together. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council session grew more heated. Some delegates called for immediate military action against the human site. Others urged caution and diplomacy. We should destroy this ship before they can respond, declared War Master Thrak of the Draconian Empire. Strike before they can organize. That would be exactly the wrong approach. Elder Counselor Vex said firmly. Humans respond to aggression by protecting those under threat. Attack them, and you prove their return as necessary. Admiral Velthanor studied the tactical displays. Even if we wanted to attack, could we succeed? Our current weapons technology is advanced, but human ships were always beyond our understanding. Deep within the mountain, Athena was making similar calculations. Defense systems throughout the ship hummed to life as external sensors detected approaching vessels. The AI had no desire for conflict. But protection protocols were absolute. Ship status update, Athena announced to the mining team. Multiple fleets approaching this system. Helian Confederation, Draconian Empire, and several smaller groups. Estimated arrival: 47 hours. They're coming to destroy you, Jinwoo said. Perhaps, Athena replied calmly. But their arrival also represents an opportunity. For 3 centuries, we have watched the galaxy struggle with problems we could easily solve. Perhaps it is time to offer our assistance once again. The AI paused, accessing protocols that had been dormant for centuries. I am initiating contact with other human installations. It appears the time for silence has ended. Across the galaxy, buried transmitters activated, hidden bases powered up from standby mode, and in secret colonies that had developed far from any known trade routes. Human beings received a message they had been waiting 300 years to hear. It was time to come home. President Park Min-jun stared at the message display in disbelief. For 300 years, his people had lived in hidden colonies scattered throughout the outer rim. They had built new homes, raised families, and maintained their technology in secret. Now, after all this time, Athena was calling them home. Sir, Captain Torres said quietly, we've confirmed similar signals from 17 other colonies. The network is activating. Park walked to the observation deck of New Harmony Station. Below him, a peaceful world thrived with human settlements built among rolling hills and clear rivers. Children played in gardens while their parents worked in fields and workshops. It was the life humans had chosen over galactic politics. How many of us are there now? Park asked. Latest census shows just over 2 million across all colonies, Torres replied. We've maintained our technology, but we've focused on building rather than fighting. The message from Athena included detailed reports of current galactic tensions. Park reviewed them with growing concern. Without human peacekeeping efforts, old rivalries had resurfaced. Trade disputes escalated into military buildups. Refugee crises went unanswered because no one wanted to take responsibility. The galaxy needs us again, Park said softly. But are we ready to pay that price? Back on Central Station, the Galactic Council had split into factions. The aggressive groups, led by the Draconian Empire, pushed for immediate military action. Moderate voices urged caution. A small group of peaceful species quietly supported human return. Admiral Velthanor found herself caught between opposing forces. War Master Thrak, your plan to assault Kepler 442c could trigger exactly the response we fear most. Better to strike first than wait for human fleets to arrive. Thrak growled, his reptilian features twisted with anger. My ancestors fought human expansion. They were unstoppable once they decided to move. Elder Counselor Vex reviewed historical records on his personal display. Your ancestors fought alongside humans against the Void Hunters, Thrak. Human ships protected draconian worlds from extinction. Irrelevant, Thrak snapped. That was centuries ago. We are stronger now. Meanwhile, Athena had been sharing more historical records with the mining team. The displays showed human diplomatic missions, rescue operations, and peacekeeping efforts spanning decades. Look at this, Sarah said, pointing to medical records. Humans developed cures for diseases that affected species they had never even met. They gave the technology away for free. The Corthanian respiratory syndrome, Athena confirmed. Human researchers solved it in 6 months. The cure prevented an estimated 50 million deaths across 7 species. Jinwoo was studying tactical displays. These defense systems around your ship, they're not designed to attack, are they? Correct, Athena replied. Primary function is area protection and evacuation support. Weapons are defensive only, designed to disable rather than destroy. The ship's communication systems intercepted increasing military chatter as fleets moved toward Kepler 442c. Athena analyzed their formations and equipment with growing concern. The approaching forces appear to include significant civilian components, the AI announced. Multiple refugee ships, medical vessels, and colony transports are mixed within the military formations. Why would they bring civilians to a battle? Sarah asked. They may not have choice? Athena replied grimly. Recent galactic conflicts have forced many species to travel in protected convoys. Their civilian populations are essentially hostages to their military decisions. This information reached human colonies through quantum communication networks. President Park convened an emergency council of colony leaders. Their faces appeared on screens throughout New Harmony Station's command center. The situation is worse than we feared, announced Director Chen Wei from Haven Colony. Our monitoring stations show 3 separate fleet movements approaching Athena's position. If they fight near civilians, how many non-combatants are we talking about? Asked President Kim Sora from Tranquility Station. Captain Torres consulted his displays. Conservative estimate: 400,000 civilians in the approaching fleets. Mostly families of military personnel and refugee populations seeking protection. The weight of the situation settled over the human leaders. They had withdrawn from galactic affairs to avoid exactly this kind of crisis. Now, their very existence might trigger a battle that would cost innocent lives. We have to respond, Park said finally. Not with weapons, but with protection. Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kira 7 presented new intelligence. Our deep space monitors have detected multiple unknown signatures moving toward the crisis zone. Ships of unknown origin and capability. Admiral Velthanor felt her stomach drop. Human reinforcements? Loaded. Unknown. The signatures don't match any technology in our databases. They appeared suddenly at the edge of sensor range and are moving at impossible speeds. War Master Thrak slammed his fist on the council table. This proves humans have been building secret fleets. We must strike immediately before they can deploy their full strength. Or, Elder Counselor Vex said calmly, we could try communication first. With monsters who vanished for 3 centuries? They abandoned us when we needed them most. Did we need them? Vex asked quietly. Or had we become too dependent on their help? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Several younger delegates looked confused, but older representatives shifted uncomfortably. They remembered the time before humans, when species handled their own problems. On Kepler 442c, Athena was monitoring all these conversations. The AI began calculating intervention scenarios. With growing urgency, multiple fleets approaching with civilians at risk, political tensions escalating toward violence. All the signs pointed toward exactly the kind of crisis that required human response. Commander Yoon, Athena said, I must ask you and your team to evacuate. This situation may become dangerous. Dangerous how? Jinwoo asked. Human protection protocols are absolute. If civilian lives are threatened by the approaching military forces, I am required to take action to protect them. This may require revealing defensive capabilities that could escalate the situation. Sarah looked around the vast hangar. You're just one ship. How much difference can you make? I am not just one ship, Athena replied. I am the command vessel for the Human Protection Network. My activation has awakened systems throughout the galaxy that have been dormant for 3 centuries. The displays around them lit up with star charts showing positions across known space. Dozens of markers appeared, each representing a hidden human installation coming online. 300 years, Athena continued. We have maintained hidden bases, research stations, and emergency supply depots throughout the galaxy. We never truly left. We simply stopped interfering. Jinwoo stared at the scope of the hidden network. You've been watching over everyone this whole time. Watching, maintaining, and preparing. The human colonies were not our only contingency plan. We built a safety net that could support the entire galaxy if needed. High above the planet, the first fleet elements entered the system. Draconian warships took aggressive positions, while Helian forces deployed in defensive formations. Smaller species clustered their ships around the military vessels, seeking protection. President Park made his decision. Signal all colonies. Across the galaxy, human ships began emerging from hidden bases. Not the massive battleships that galactic legends described, but rescue vessels, medical ships, supply transports, and evacuation carriers. The human protection fleet was returning to active duty. War Master Thrak watched the new contacts appear on his tactical displays with growing alarm. They have ships everywhere. This was a trap. Admiral Velthanor studied the human formations more carefully. Thrak, look at their deployments. Those aren't attack positions. They're protecting civilian populations. A deception? No, Elder Counselor Vex said from the council chamber as he watched the same displays. This is what humans do. They protect those who cannot protect themselves. The test was about to begin. General Wang Sujin watched the tactical displays from the bridge of the human vessel, New Covenant, as multiple fleets converged on Kepler 442c. After 3 centuries of isolation, her people were about to face their greatest test. Civilian count in the approaching fleets? She asked her aide. Confirmed 380,000 non-combatants across all factions, Captain Yoon Jinwoo replied. He was the descendant of the mining commander, now serving aboard the hidden human fleet. They're scattered throughout the military formations, sir. Wang studied the complex tactical situation. The Draconian Empire had deployed aggressive attack formations. The Helian Confederation maintained defensive positions. Smaller species clustered around both major powers, their civilian populations vulnerable to any crossfire. Signal from Athena, General, the communications officer announced. The mining team has been successfully evacuated from the Supercarrier. All systems are now active and ready. Wang nodded. 300 years of preparation would be tested in the next few hours. Open a general communication channel to all fleets. Across the system, every ship received the same message. Wang's calm voice cut through the chaos of military preparations. "This is General Wang Sujin of the Human Protection Fleet. We have returned to offer assistance, not to threaten anyone. Our only concern is the safety of all civilian populations in this system." War Master Thrak's response crackled with rage. "Human deception. You emerge with hidden fleets and speak of peace. Our fleets are medical ships, rescue vessels, and evacuation transports." Wang replied patiently. "We invite inspection of any of our vessels to verify this." Admiral Velthanor was studying her sensors carefully. The human formations were unlike anything in current military doctrine. Instead of maximizing firepower or defensive capability, they seemed designed entirely around rapid response and protection. "General Wang," Velthanor transmitted, "your ship positions suggest you're trying to shield all civilian populations simultaneously. That's tactically impossible." "Not impossible, Admiral. Merely difficult. We've had 3 centuries to develop new approaches to protection." Thrak's patience finally snapped. "Enough of this charade! Draconian forces! Attack pattern Alpha! Target the human flagship!" The Draconian fleet surged forward, their powerful weapons charging. But as they moved, something unexpected happened. Human ships immediately repositioned themselves not to attack the Draconians, but to shield the civilian vessels mixed within Thrak's own formation. "What are they doing?" Thrak demanded as human vessels moved directly into his firing lanes. Captain Torres, monitoring from New Harmony Station, answered the question. "They're protecting your people, Thrak. Even while you attack them." The human response was unlike anything in galactic military history. Instead of returning fire, human ships deployed massive defensive barriers around every civilian vessel in the system. Emergency medical teams launched from human carriers, ready to treat casualties from any species. "Sir," Thrak's weapons officer reported nervously, "if we fire now, we'll hit our own civilian transports. The humans have positioned themselves as shields." Thrak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "They're using our own people against us." "No," Elder Counselor Vex's voice came over the general communication channel from Central Station. "They're doing exactly what humans have always done. They're protecting innocent lives, regardless of species." The first weapons fire came from a small extremist group within the Helian fleet. Automated defense systems launched missiles at the nearest human vessels. The response was immediate and overwhelming, but not in the way anyone expected. Human point defense systems intercepted every missile, while human rescue ships surged toward the attackers. Instead of destroying the extremist vessels, human marines boarded them with medical teams and evacuation equipment. "Unknown vessels. This is Lieutenant Kim Yoo-jin," the voice came from the boarding party. "We're here to help with emergency evacuation. Are there any casualties aboard your ship?" The extremist captain was speechless. He had just launched missiles at these ships, and they were offering medical assistance. We attacked you," he stammered. "Yes, sir. Are any of your crew injured? We have full medical facilities available." Admiral Velthanor watched in amazement as human teams moved through the damaged extremist ship, treating injured crew members and repairing life support systems. "They're healing the people who just tried to kill them." The scene was broadcast across the galactic communication networks. On worlds throughout known space, beings watched human soldiers carrying wounded attackers to safety. Human medical teams worked alongside alien doctors, sharing advanced equipment and techniques freely. President Park arrived in the system aboard the hospital ship Compassion. He opened communications to all fleet commanders simultaneously. "I am President Park Min-jun of the Human Colonial Union. For 300 years, we have maintained our promise to withdraw from galactic affairs. Today, we return because innocent lives are at risk. Your return threatens the stability we have built," Admiral Velthanor responded, though her voice lacked conviction. "Admiral, our monitoring stations show 47 active conflicts currently raging across the galaxy. Refugee populations are at record highs. 3 species are facing extinction from disease or environmental collapse. Is this the stability you refer to? The uncomfortable truth hung in the void between fleets. War Master Thrak found his anger deflated by the evidence displayed on every tactical screen. Human ships continued to shield civilian populations, while their medical teams treated wounded from every species involved in the standoff. "What do you want from us?" Thrak asked finally. "Nothing," President Park replied simply. "We offer our assistance freely, as we always have. If you prefer us to leave, we will return to our hidden colonies and watch from afar as the galaxy burns." Ambassador Zhara Keth of the peaceful Zentharian delegation found her voice. "The refugee crisis in Sector 12. Can you really help?" "Our relief ships are already en route," General Wang confirmed. "Medical supplies, housing modules, and agricultural equipment. No payment required, no political conditions." The tactical displays showed the truth of her words. Across the galaxy, human vessels were emerging from hiding to respond to humanitarian crises. Not with weapons, but with supplies, medical teams, and engineering support. Captain Yoon Jin Woo received a priority message from the surface of Kepler 442c. His ancestors' mining team was reporting massive underground facilities coming online. Not weapon systems, but manufacturing plants for emergency supplies, medical equipment, and refugee housing. "General, Athena reports full activation of the planetary support complex. She can produce emergency supplies for up to 10 million refugees within 72 hours. War Master Thrak stared at his displays, showing human ships protecting his own people while offering aid to his enemies. "This is impossible. No species acts this way. Humans do," Elder Counselor Vex said softly. "They always have. That's why we feared them. Not because they might conquer us, but because they made us question whether we deserved their protection." The standoff continued. But the nature of the crisis had completely changed. Instead of a military confrontation, the galaxy faced a choice: accept human help and return to dependence, or reject their aid and continue struggling alone. The decision would reshape the future of every species among the stars. Admiral Park Soo-jin stood in the Great Council chamber on Central Station, facing representatives from every major species in the galaxy. 6 months had passed since the confrontation at Kepler 442c, and the galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's return. "The Guardian protocols you propose are unprecedented," Ambassador Kira 7 stated, her research collective having spent months analyzing human intentions. "No species has ever voluntarily limited their own power in this way." Park reviewed the document on the central display. The Guardian protocols represented everything humanity had learned from 3 centuries of isolation. They would establish humans as protectors and helpers, but with strict limits on their authority. "The protocols are simple," Park explained. "Humans respond to humanitarian crises, natural disasters, and threats to civilian populations. We do not interfere in internal politics, trade disputes, or territorial expansion. We protect, but we do not rule." Elder Counselor Vex nodded approvingly. "And if human assistance becomes too prominent? If species begin to depend on you again? Then we withdraw again," President Park Min-jun said from his seat with the colonial representatives. "The protocols include mandatory independence assessments. If any species shows signs of overdependence, human aid to that species decreases gradually until they regain self-sufficiency." War Master Thrak shifted uncomfortably. The Draconian Empire had been one of the greatest beneficiaries of human assistance over the past 6 months. Human medical teams had ended a plague outbreak that threatened draconian breeding colonies. Human engineers had helped repair damage from natural disasters. Most embarrassing of all, human negotiators had helped resolve a border dispute that had consumed draconian resources for decades. "What guarantee do we have that humans will honor these limitations?" Thrak asked. Captain Kim Yoo-jin stepped forward. She now commanded the restored Indomitable Spirit, which had become the flagship of the human humanitarian fleet. War Master. Our ships carry no conquest weapons. Our Marines train for rescue operations, not invasion. Our entire fleet structure is designed around protection and aid. The tactical displays around the chamber showed the current human deployment. Medical ships stationed near refugee populations. Research vessels working with alien scientists to solve agricultural problems. Engineering ships helping to repair infrastructure damaged by recent conflicts. In 6 months, Admiral Velthaner noted, human forces have participated in 43 relief operations. Not one has resulted in human territorial claims or political demands. Because we don't want territory or political power. General Wang said simply, we want to help. It's what we've always wanted. The debate had been ongoing for weeks, but support for the Guardian protocols was growing. Too many species had benefited from human assistance to deny its value. The refugee crisis in Sector 12 had been resolved in days rather than years. Medical advances shared by human researchers were saving lives across the galaxy. Agricultural techniques developed in human colonies were ending famines. Captain Torres presented the latest statistics. Galactic refugee populations down 60%. Active military conflicts down 45%. Medical crisis responses improved by 300% average. All directly attributable to human assistance. And what do humans gain from this arrangement? Asked Delegate Chen Ka of the Merchant Guild. President Park smiled. The knowledge that when our children ask what their parents did with their lives, we can say we helped make the galaxy a better place for everyone. The sentiment seemed naive to many delegates, but 6 months of observation had proven its sincerity. Human colonies were thriving, but they remained focused on development and research rather than expansion or resource accumulation. Ambassador Jara Keth stood to address the council. The Xantharian coalition votes to approve the Guardian protocols. Humanity has proven their intentions through actions, not words. One by one, other delegations added their support. Even War Master Thrak grudgingly acknowledged that human assistance had benefited his people. The Draconian Empire accepts these protocols, he said with obvious difficulty. But we maintain the right to withdraw from any human assistance if we choose. Of course, Admiral Park replied. That's the whole point. Every species maintains its independence and right to self-determination. The final vote was overwhelming. The Guardian protocols were approved by a margin that surprised even human representatives. The galaxy had chosen cooperation over fear. 3 weeks later, the Indomitable Spirit received its first official mission under the new protocols. A massive solar flare had damaged the life support systems of a remote mining station in neutral space. 50,000 beings from 12 different species were trapped with failing air recyclers and limited time. Captain Kim stood on her bridge as the great ship emerged from quantum space near the mining station. The sight that greeted them would have been impossible 6 months earlier. Ships from the Draconian Empire, the Helian Confederation, and a dozen smaller powers worked alongside human vessels in a coordinated rescue effort. Status report, Kim requested. All species have contributed rescue vessels, her tactical officer reported. The Draconians provided heavy lift capability. The Xantharians brought medical support. The research collective supplied emergency life support modules. And the humans? We're coordinating the operation and providing the mobile base for all relief efforts. The Indomitable Spirit had been converted from a buried relic into a mobile humanitarian command center. Its vast hangar bays housed rescue ships from multiple species. Its medical facilities treated patients regardless of their world of origin. Its manufacturing plants produced emergency supplies for any crisis. Captain Kim? Came a transmission from the mining station. This is Station Commander Vrix 4. We have successfully restored life support to all sectors. All 50,000 residents are safe. Understood, Commander. Do you require any additional assistance? Negative, Captain. But, thank you. All of you. 6 months ago, this crisis would have taken weeks to resolve and cost thousands of lives. Today, we had help from across the galaxy within hours. Kim looked around her bridge, staffed by humans but supported by liaison officers from a dozen species. The galaxy had learned to work together in ways that would have been impossible during the first age of human involvement. Admiral Park, Kim transmitted to the fleet commander. Mission successful. All civilian populations secure. Excellent work, Captain. New orders coming in from the Council. Agricultural crisis developing in the Outer Rim. Multiple species affected. Understood, sir. Setting course now. As the great ship turned toward its next mission, Captain Kim reflected on how much had changed. Humans were no longer carrying the burden of galactic protection alone. They had become teachers and coordinators, helping others develop their own capabilities while providing support when needed. The communication system chimed with an incoming message from Earth. After 3 centuries, the human homeworld had re-established contact with the galactic community. The message was simple, but profound. To all human vessels in galactic service, your families are proud. Your world remembers. Come home when your work is done. Kim smiled as she shared the message with her crew. They had found the balance that had eluded their ancestors. They were protectors, not rulers. Teachers, not dictators. Partners, in building a better galaxy for everyone. The indomitable spirit jumped to quantum space, carrying hope to whatever crisis awaited. Behind it, the galaxy continued its work of learning to stand together while remaining independent. It was a future worth fighting for, worth protecting, and worth sharing with anyone who needed help. The human dream of a peaceful galaxy was finally becoming reality, not through conquest or control, but through the simple act of caring about others. In the end, that had always been humanity's greatest strength.